Merci pour votre contribution. Ah, bonjour, Madame la Ministre. Vous attendez aussi avec impatience.
Eh bien, écoutez...
Eric, que je vais appeler tout à l'heure, qui prendra the floor, comme on dit, et puis aussi nos speakers. Et je salue Robert Calcagno de l'Institut océanographique de Monaco, qui est déjà parmi nous. Je n'ai pas regardé, mais le compte à rebours est passé.
So I think that we're supposed to have started the meeting.
Il est exactement l'heure, c'est-à-dire
We're in time.
16 heures.
It's 4 o'clock.
Tu veux bien avant que...
Maybe before our chairs and co-chair are introduced, maybe you could introduce
l'ensemble des
the various speakers which I could invite as from now so they can come to the forum, to the panel.
On va s'installer.
If you so agree, we're going to start.
Robert, si vous voulez bien nous...
Robert, would you come up here? Puisqu'on est encore un peu entre nous, Madame la Ministre, si je peux me permettre, je vais demander d'autres guidelines. Oui, oui. Je salue avec tout le respect qu'on lui doit Admiral Pierre Vendier. Merci.
I would like to greet Admiral Pierre Vendier. Thank you for being with us once again.
Généreuse dans la transmission. Justement, la transmission, merci de nous rejoindre sur cette question. Et je sais, ayant l'appui de l'école d'administrateurs de maritime pendant ces 2 sessions, à quel point c'est généreux, l'armée que vous présidez est engagée. Et je voudrais vous remercier pour ce soutien, d'abord votre présence pendant ces 2 jours, et puis le soutien qu'on a eu, logistique, de l'ensemble de la marine. Merci beaucoup. Eric. Alors, Eric, où es-tu? OK. On va demander à notre modérateur, Eric Guilyardi, de nous présenter cet atelier, le temps qu'Eric descende. On a l'honneur d'accueillir Monsieur le ministre Jean-Michel Blanquer, ministre de l'Éducation nationale.
Thank you for being with us, Mr. Jean-Michel Blanquer, Minister of Education, National Education and Youth and Sports in France. Thank you for opening this session on educating to the sea, the ocean for youth.
Merci beaucoup, merci pour.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your welcome, Madam Minister of Environment and Sustainable Development for Madagascar,
de la culture, de l'éducation et de la jeunesse.
Mr. Commissioner, Madam Director of UNESCO in charge of education, Mr. Ambassador, Professor, Madam Reporter, Mr. Moderator, dear Claude Fontenoy, ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, and all of you, wonderful actors of education and sustainable development for the seas and the oceans. This list is very long, but it covers all of the different types of players who are involved, and it's an honor for me to be here to open this workshop at this International Summit on the Ocean. I'd like to warmly thank all of you for having come. We all share the passion and the commitment of transmission to young people, transmitting knowledge. This goes along with awe and curiosity, and the ocean brings us both awe and knowledge. And we all come from the sea, and it is because we know how to try to understand the world that the sea will continue. When people forget the reciprocity necessary, this is the worst of human being, and the best is transmission. We are trying to send out signals of distress to save our beautiful planet, and we must be very demanding. I was just saying a minute ago on the relationship between art and science, we have never opposed reason and emotion, nature and culture, and even less awe and deepening knowledge. Children are always curious. They're curious about the universe, they're curious about the sea, and this must be cultivated through education, and we must bring them from curiosity to knowledge. That's how we'll end up training more scientists. We have some very eminent scientists with us today, and we need to help children move towards science through experimentation, through concrete knowledge, and that's how we will bring more students towards science and towards awareness. Without this, without the critical thinking and concrete experience, we risk moving towards fantasy and hysterical fear and conspiracy. We owe it to the youth to be concrete, serene, and to define living paths for them. It's a delicate task, because decisions are not always easy to make. In France, we have 13 million children, and we have to take those 13 million children towards the path of awareness. We also owe to the youth the optimism of our will. We don't want to oppose this to pessimism, but the challenges involved with the environment should not discourage us. And there are too many pessimistic narratives, and it's not because the dangers are great that we should stumble into pessimism. And I've met many students who understand that. They don't want to hear simple announcements about the difficulties in front of them. They want to be taught, they want to learn the tools, and they want to be actors in this world. Today, our planet and the ocean especially need support in order to continue to meet their functions. I'm talking about as if the ocean were a person, but in fact it is sort of a collective person, and we're all members of that person. And so today we must create a teaching policy to save the ocean, and I like to underline the number of students who are currently going into scientific studies have increased in the past couple of years. 50% of the French high school students a few years ago went on to scientific studies, and today that number has gone up to 80%. And this concerns math as well as physics and chemistry and biology and IT studies as well, because as well as soft science. Concretely speaking, what does all this mean? It means that the students need to understand the major environmental challenges that we're faced with, and this goes from our immediate environment to the worldwide. The climate change, the proliferation of invasive species, plastics, protection of coastal areas, all of this must be part of what we teach to our students. That's what we are doing through our courses in middle school and high schools, and this is also especially part of our science teachers. We also have to teach students that the Earth breathes and that we all breathe, and this is part of the complex living system. And this means that we need cross-cutting teaching. We need to change the path of knowledge so that new processes bring new solutions. For France, all of this is based on a process, a collective process, a team-based process, because the diversity of viewpoints and actions and the fact that working together brings solutions. And this is one of the first skills that we need to teach our students, being able to work on a team. That starts at the very youngest age, and that's what will enable us all to work together for the environment. We need to create commons based on complexity and working together and as a team. This requires collective action for and by young people who can invest differently and be aware of what they're doing. In France, we have increased scholastic programs which are very developed in terms of sustainable development and the ocean, and also in terms of eco-delegates. This is important because, once again, we need to transmit knowledge, but we also have to fight against individualism and siloism. We need to help people students go beyond the problems. When a student starts middle school, the student may feel alone and a bit lost, and sometimes they then commit to negative solutions, for example, drugs or other negative actions. And so we have to actively encourage them to go towards positive paths. We did this during the climate march in 2019. We gathered young people together and we said, the environment is not just a slogan. The environment is life. So tell us what you want us to do. And they made an 8-point proposal, and I respect those 8 points. And one of those 8 points was to create eco-delegates. In other words, in all of the middle schools and high schools, there's an eco-delegate. They elect a delegate who suggests concrete actions to their fellow students. We have 250,000 of them. And I met with them recently, and they were They were exactly what we wanted them to be. In other words, active players. They talk about selective sorting. They talk about short path groceries, and they talk about locally grown vegetables and protecting their environment. And this is illustrated with education. When you talk about national education, we're talking about 13 million students. We're talking about 60,000 schools, 1 million professors, parents and families of all of these children. And this is true in every country in the world. And so when students start acting for the environment, in fact, we get the whole society working towards the environment. And this is true for road security or environment to others. And when children get involved, they are effective. And this is visible through the results of what they do. And so getting those children to act is one of the first examples of teamwork that I mentioned. Another example is promoting school projects on sustainable development. We have programs in France that take into account the environment and transmission. And we have the tools necessary to teach maritime studies and encourage progress through the 3D label for our schools that is in partnership with ocean organizations. There are also organizations within the schools to gather the students together around the subject of environment and citizens' roles. We have the illustration of a collective and teamwork which works to change things. And the third principle concerns partnerships with the schools. Many of you are the actual illustration of this. A school, it does not work in silos. They work with their partners. The typical example here in Brest is the educational maritime areas. There were about 10 of them about 30 years ago, and we've decided to create 10 per year of these special zones. And we now have we will have 70 of those areas in September 2022. In other words, the entire Britain coast is becoming an educational zone to work with children so that students learn about the sea and experience it, concretely speaking, both environmentally and scientifically. The Mode Fontenoy Foundation works on this. We have a program which sends children to the seashore to study the seashore. We have sports programs as well. We create partnerships with summer camps for children where they have fun and they learn at the same time. And they learn about the sea. And when they learn about the sea, then that makes them want to become scientists. We have created a committee of school partners on the sea ocean challenges. A fourth principle has to do with awareness in and outside of school. I talked about learning times because children can also learn during vacation or after school. They can be along the beach on the shore and to learn there. We have created various programs to send children on vacation learning programs. We also have developed sports programs. We also have the Universal Civil Service program, which is going to be implemented. And we hope that the environmental challenges will be more and more at the center of those. The fifth principle of the collective system is international collective initiatives. One of our main partners is UNESCO. UNESCO is with us today, and I know that we work a lot with UNESCO. And this, by giving opportunities for exchange between young people and international organizations, and this is an important opportunity. And through the French presidency of the EU, we promote twinnings with between French organizations and establishments and other establishments in other countries. And I went to inaugurate one of these twinnings a couple of years ago. This represents the professional excellence that we want for our students. I met an artisan recently who has been making bags out of oyster bags, and the young people are this is one of them. This is one of these bags that has been made, and it's made out of oyster baskets. I didn't even know that the person was there, but this is goes to show that what I'm saying is true. And that challenge regarding the international aspect of children's learning depends on children's mobility. And during the French presidency of the EU, we are going to we're going to respect what President Macron said in 2017. We are going to increase the Erasmus programs so that students, more and more students, particularly apprentices and all high school students will be able to take advantage of this. And we now have campuses that are Franco-Spanish, Franco-German, etc. And we have twinnings with all of the countries in Europe. In other words, the young French citizens who are also European citizens and also citizens of the world, and as citizens of the world, of course, are very sensitive to the challenge of the ocean. And finally, we need to go out and look for scientific information through research and in cooperation with our students. This is what we call participative research. And our students love to do that every time they're involved with this in these various projects. For example, the project by Francis, a project that's going to take students out to sea and also enables scientists to correspond with students in high schools. And these partnerships are very, very successful. And what about, we identify concrete actions between all of our countries for the benefit of our young people. I know that there are excellent examples throughout Europe and internationally. In Madagascar, so many positive things in partnership with France. We have to have an international view of this, it's obvious. This should enable the conference, the Lisbon conference in June, give the ocean conservation a special place for all future work of the Conference of Parties. Very often I am asked, what's more important than our planet? Well, there's nothing. What's more important on this planet than it's the ocean, 70% of the surface area. What's the most important for humanity? Education. Without education, there's no future. And if you put all of these elements together and the natural, cultural elements, this brings us the junction between education and sustainable development. So there's nothing more important than educating on sustainable development. This may seem like something a little bit extra, something sort of on the sidelines that you add to something, that all the important things, but it's actually the opposite. The education and sustainable development is at the very heart of what we have to transmit to our students, particularly if we understand what the UN has defined as sustainable development, is developing the government, but also developing a sustainable society which is fair and sustainable. And this is what we try to do with our students. And what your responsibility is also essential for the future. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Ministre. Merci.
Thank you, Minister.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Ministre, pour cette entrée en matière énergisante. La transition est toute facile.
Very interesting.
La ministre de l'Environnement et du Développement durable de Madagascar à venir aussi.
We would like to ask the Minister from Madagascar to say a few words in the opening session of this seminar.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. And
Je vais vous emmener
I'm going to take you
paradis dans l'océan
in another paradise in the Indian Oceans.
Madagascar.
Madagascar is the fourth largest island in the world in the Indian Ocean, 1,600 kilometers of coast, larger than France and Benelux. It's also a major place in the continental plate, and the surface of the sea under jurisdiction is 3 times as big as the island. It's also, as you know, a great biodiversity with the fauna and flora which are extremely rich and diverse. 84% of plants and others also with animals. Tourism around the whales, also ecotourism with protected areas, forest, primary forest in the east. In spite of this postcard that I've just described, it's also the 4th most vulnerable country to climate change. You've probably heard in the news, the various news, Madagascar is undergoing a crisis, unprecedented crisis. We've had 2 severe droughts in October and November until December, and now in a very short period of time, typhoons have arrived with people which have been killed, but also movements in the populations, territories underwater, towns and villages, 80% destroyed on the East Coast. It's a fragile economy as well. I don't want to be too negative, but I think we've got to discuss our side of the planet and mention the reality. Fragile economy and a difficult situation, a population that has increased and reinforced the vulnerability of the country. We've finalized our plan for the adaptation climate change that we introduced in Glasgow at COP26. We're talking of serious aspects, financing of the adaptation of countries like mine, and these are islands which are submitted to this climate injustice, and we still hope from this promise from in Paris and Glasgow that we'll see how we can have campaigns, how we can protect and help these our territories. We've never seen this before, such a drought and 3 typhoons in less than a month. I'm now going to mention Sea and Oceans, which is a summit, the theme for this summit, and I would like to thank the French organization for this. We only discuss sea and ocean. It mentions biodiversity, ecosystems, which are many, the carbon exchange. We have also the coral reefs, the blue economy, which is a leverage for economic growth. But in real life, Madagascar, it is a country which finds it difficult. There is illegal, undeclared, unregulated fishing and poaching, and also being a destruction of its fishing areas. The coexistence is sometimes difficult between industrial and community fisheries, and also an impact on the lack of the food insecurity. We have been associated to the pollution, and we are fighting with the youth, and sometimes they hear very harsh words regarding the plastic balance of companies. It's also 700 million of oil which are coming across and a large part in the Mozambique Canal, 1,200 trips per year, and movement of large oil tankers and many of smaller ones, transport of dangerous waste. So it's constantly exposed to a risk of oil spills. In spite of this, Madagascar has a national line and a strong position on this question of the ocean and the seas. Madagascar has signed practically all the international conventions, signed, ratified, and implemented. We signed different international treaties. Also, a lot has been done in the frame of protected marine areas with the cooperation of France and other countries in the EU, and to develop these protected maritime areas. And we've also developed the surfing, which is very important, because we're convinced that this collective spirit and mutualization is important, and we're going to chair the COI, the Commission of the Indian Ocean, and we've been chairing the Nairobi Convention associating the islands in the Indian Ocean and the countries in the west of the Indian Ocean. The national economy is oriented with the blue economy. The Ministry of Fisheries and Economies worked on this. As to youth and education, so also a strong view that this is very important at global and national level, and we must ask the youth, especially in a country where 50% of the country is under 25, we have to embark these youth in our programs, and they've already an access to interdisciplinarity, but we're going to disciplinarity. There is example for the civil society from what is done by a number of actors in the civilian society. We wanted to insist on the idea of respect, as you've said, Mr. Minister, respect for life, the respect for responsibility, the idea of responsibility, which must be central in education to environment and sustainable development, and real responsibility towards the planet which we are using and which is lent to us, for more empathy again also in this. The sharing information, the right to be informed, which is universal in a country like ours, where youth has very little access to school and education and social networks, and the right to inform, which must be revised and reviewed in view of the local context. How do we see the youth? First of all, it's an actor. It's an actor for conservation. It's a stakeholder which reminds us in the political world that it is urgent and that action should be undertaken quickly. Youth also a representative of future generations, as I often say in the debates and international convention. With the youth, which is to be taken into account through the training of human capital, and a major stake is how we ask them, how we get them in when they are not in the formal flow of school or university. And to conclude, I would like to say one sentence which I've heard this morning, which I think that we must to save the oceans, because this means saving ourselves. Thank you very much.
Madame la Ministre, merci beaucoup.
Madam Minister, thank you. Ministers,
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this workshop. So after, I think we had very inspiring comments from our ministers. So I am Eric Guilyardi. I'm a climate scientist and oceanographer. I'm president of the Office for Climate Education and have the pleasure of moderating our workshop today. I would like also to acknowledge the co-lead of the organization of this workshop with the International Oceanographic Commission and the team of Vladimir Ryabinin, which I really acknowledge. And of course, also Maud Fontenoy, don't run away, Maud, who's been also instrumental in organizing this. Well, everybody knows Maud, famous sailor who crossed oceans single-handed. So talk about knowing the ocean. So after the opening message from the ministers, I would like now to invite a first introduction by Mariya Gabriel, the European Union Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture, Education and Youth. And I think we have that on screen.
Dear Minister Blanquer, cher Jean-Michel, dear Minister Raharinirina, dear Stefania Giannini, representing UNESCO, ladies and gentlemen, let me start by congratulating the French presidency for organizing this event that marks an important milestone for Europe. I thank you for letting me share some reflections on the challenges we have ahead of us to care for our oceans. From the air we breathe to temperature regulation or biodiversity, oceans play a key role in reaching the necessary equilibria to become more sustainable. Our citizens care about sustainability of our oceans. Yet, the willingness to improve our environment does not always translate in a deeper understanding nor motivates collaboration for action. We can support the development of greater awareness and knowledge by three main lines: through education towards ocean literacy, investing in research to push the boundaries of the possible and adding to what each of us can learn, and thirdly, by active participation of all, creating opportunities to put new knowledge into practice. Starting with education, we created the EU for Ocean Coalition to bring together different partners and share knowledge to improve oceans literacy. It supports the network of European Blue Schools, developing projects with and for our schools. It connects young people through the Youth for Ocean Forum. It has launched the Make EU Blue campaign, pulling together pledges towards real, meaningful change. Let me take this opportunity to invite you all here to join in and pledge. We have just published the proposal for a Council recommendation on learning for environmental sustainability, with the new European Competence Framework on sustainability. We want to support Member States to equip learners with the understanding and skills towards creating a socially just and sustainable future. In what concerns research, we have launched the Mission Oceans within the Horizon Europe program. It will address the science and technology we need to offload the pressure on our oceans and water ecosystems. Cutting-edge research, like the work of the Future Mares project, will help conserve and restore marine ecosystems across the globe. This kind of research will inform effective policy solutions and help us heal ecosystems and adapt to climate change. The mission will launch 4 lighthouses in major European river and sea basins, from the Mediterranean to the North Sea, the Baltic, the Atlantic and the Arctic. We'll fund the mission Restore Our Ocean and Waters with €500 million in the next 3 years, mainly through Horizon Europe, complemented by other funds such as the European Maritime, Fisheries and Agriculture Fund and InvestEU. The mission will deliver breakthrough innovation and will promote cooperation and convene communities of practice at sea and river basin levels. I want to emphasize that fighting climate change requires the new forms of participation with dedicated citizen assemblies that the mission will provide. The lighthouses are guiding spots for our European citizens, counting on them to engage and participate, interact with researchers, co-creating solutions to protect our oceans and rivers. The ambitious digital twin ocean that will be developed can be used for educational purposes in our schools, going beyond our specialized laboratories. Let me conclude with the third aspect related with opportunities for participation. 2022 is the European Year of the Youth, and in that context we are launching a European Climate Solidarity Corps as part of the broader framework. We want to empower young people to act directly to protect their planet, building a greener, bluer future for Europe. We are rolling out other initiatives for direct action. For example, the Plastic Pirate Citizen Science Initiative will bring students and scientists together to tackle the difficult issue of plastic pollution. To conclude, dear friends, caring for our oceans and rivers is a huge task and requires a multiplicity of efforts, of our collective efforts. Help us disseminating and raise awareness. Bring your voice to the podcast Oceans Could Speak from the EU for Ocean Coalition. And remember, Europe cannot be alone in this effort. I very much welcome the international collaboration embedded in the Mission Oceans, and in particular the collaboration with the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO on ocean literacy. I wish you good winds and good discussion in this event. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for this inspiring introduction. And so that leaves the floor beautifully to our second introduction, who's going to be proposed by Stefania Giannini, who is the Assistant Director General for Education at UNESCO. So, Stefania, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure, a great honor to join you, at least at distance, unfortunately, and thank you for placing education center stage at this important summit. As Minister Blanquer and other speakers previously had already highlighted, we have one ocean and one planet, and young generations are its guardians, its custodians. We also know that we are at a very dangerous turning point in history. The climate crisis is endangering actually all that we depend on for our survival, and is the result of destructive human action. We must rebalance actually our relationship with nature by learning for our blue planet. This calls for transformative education, one that nurtures in learners from the early childhood, from the youngest age, awareness, knowledge, and a better understanding of our interdependence with the ocean, and encourages action to protect it. UNESCO's actions and initiatives are very much about leading a global flagship program on education for sustainable development, broadly speaking, with an ambitious roadmap to scale up action over the next decade. This is a blueprint for governments, education stakeholders, civil society, and learners, especially students, learners, and young people of all ages, to reorient the goals of learning for the purpose of a sustainable future. Education, of course, is not a one-size-for-all solution. It's not the solution for everything, but it's very much the ground for a big change, the change the world needs today. And education for sustainable development is a kind of ethics of taking care. What Minister Blanquer mentioned just a few minutes before, the culture of respect is very much at the core of this initiative. It aims to ensure that learners acquire the knowledge, skills, and mindsets to act for our planet by connecting mind, hands, and heart, so to say. And this is not the case yet, unfortunately. According to a recent UNESCO study of curricula from some 100 countries all over the world, we found that only half made reference to climate change, broadly speaking, and very, very few to ocean literacy and education to the ocean. A survey of nearly 60,000 teachers found that the majority did not feel confident and ready about integrating environmental content in their work, in their daily classroom duties. UNESCO has called for environmental and climate action to be a core topic, a core curriculum component by 2025. From now, 3 years. We'll be 5 years before the end of the Agenda 2030. And for education for sustainable development to be integrated throughout the learning cycle in every country by 2030 itself. Governments committed to this last May at the World Conference on Education for Sustainable Development. Achieving this goal entails a paradigm shift around more collaborative and project-based learning, critical reflection, partnership, and all this kind of new approach to learning about sustainability, which is not a nice topic to add in the curriculum or in the program of a cycle of learning, but it's really very much a cross-cutting new paradigm. And it's about also teachers training. It's about the teacher having the know-how to embark their classes on this journey of awareness, raising, and action, and that schools themselves walk the talk by becoming a real concrete examples of sustainability. Educating about the ocean, strictly speaking, should inspire and teach people to better understand our blue blank, to explore the marine environment and develop a better understanding of how oceans support life on Earth. UNESCO is developing a range of pedagogical resources to accompany this ambition and drive the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. Today, you will discover a toolkit to help decision makers integrate ocean literacy in the curriculum so that the world can transition from the ocean we have to the ocean we want through education, in education. Our ocean literacy portal provides a rich collection of resources with the goal of creating an ocean literacy and literate society. Ultimately, this is an education that is empowering because it gives the motivation and power to transform to those who are the main actors of change, learners and teachers first. This approach gives to youth the possibility to shape policies from community to global level in a kind of bottom-up process. When youth feel connected to the ocean, they take action, and this begins with ocean literacy, concretely. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stefania Giannini, for this amazing work you're doing at UNESCO on this topic of ocean literacy. So this afternoon, we'll further learn about ocean literacy. We have many exciting speakers and panelists to help us navigate through this afternoon. And we'll come to appreciate the key role of education for the stewardship of the ocean, which is the goal of this summit. We will see how ocean literacy is rooted in the wider education for sustainable development that was just reminded by us from the different ministers here, and how it links with the many subjects such as humanities, science education, of course, to provide a holistic view of the many challenges that are encapsulated in the Sustainable Development Goals and the UN 2030 Agenda. We will explore some guiding principles that define quality ocean literacy and education, the central role of teachers, which are really today's unsung heroes in the classroom, how ocean literacy is adapted to various audiences, how existing pedagogical approaches complement each other, both for formal and informal education. So throughout the workshop, we will hear about a number of amazing, inspirational initiatives and learn how they can scale up to reach all youth and adults alike and encourage a critical mind, we've heard, but also a hopeful heart. This was the word of the minister already, and this is clearly very, very important. So we will have two roundtables, two topics to discuss. First, where we stand today, and second, discuss some challenges and look to the future. Right, so to start the first roundtable, I would first like to invite Sarah Schoedinger. Sarah, are you with us from remote? Yes, you are. So Sarah is a senior education program manager at the Office of Education at the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, in the USA. So Sarah, you have been a key player of ocean literacy for the last 20 years. Can you tell us how it all started and share some of the iconic NOAA contribution?
Sure, thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Fine.
Okay. Okay. So why did ocean literacy start in the U.S.? In the mid-1990s and into the 2000s, there were growing frustrations among ocean scientists and educators in the United States that concepts about the ocean were not being taught in most U.S. classrooms for the elementary and secondary grades. And around the same time, there were two national surveys conducted on public attitudes about the ocean and ocean conservation issues. And these surveys showed that public audiences expressed care of and concern for the ocean and ocean conservation, but were largely ignorant about it. They were ignorant about how the ocean functions as a system, the important role the ocean plays in influencing weather and climate on Earth, and that life on this planet would not have existed and cannot exist without the ocean. Now, there were individuals and institutions in the US at that time that focused on teaching and learning ocean sciences in both formal and informal education, but there wasn't any consistency in which concepts were taught, and they didn't appear in any systematic or systemic way in the United States. So in a nutshell, that was the impetus for a group of US ocean scientists and educators to marshal their intellectual, logistical, and financial resources to define ocean literacy and then create a framework of concepts that support that definition. And that framework has added pieces over the years, but it's that definition and the 7 essential principles of ocean literacy and the underlining concepts of those principles that are still the central pieces to that framework. And in particular, I think it's those pieces of the framework that have resonated most strongly with other people in other cultures and countries. So as for NOAA's role in building the ocean literacy movement, so for those of you who are not familiar with NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA as we call it, is a US government agency that studies our ocean coasts, climate, and weather, because it is our mission to understand and predict changes in climate, weather, the ocean, and coasts, to share that knowledge and information with others, and to conserve and manage coastal and marine ecosystems and resources. So I think it's pretty obvious that ocean education and ocean literacy are important to that mission, although not exclusively so. And so NOAA was and continues to be a key partner in the development and dissemination of the ocean literacy framework. We have done that through funding both programs at NOAA and with our external partners to develop instructional resources, outreach materials, and programs that promote ocean literacy to children, youth, and adults. And then there, more specifically, ocean literacy concepts have influenced educational programs, exhibitions, curricula and other instructional materials, and more recently, social media campaigns, both inside of NOAA and among institutions with whom we partner. And some examples of those institutions are aquariums, science centers, universities, and other educational organizations. So that's the way that NOAA has and continues to support ocean literacy in the US.
Very much, Sarah. This is very, quite an amazing work you're doing at NOAA. Thank you for sharing that with us. Our next panelist is Céline Liret, Scientific Director of Oceanopolis here in Brest. So Céline, science museums play a central role in informal education and lifelong learning. Can you tell us how, together with other science and technological cultural centers, they contribute to ocean literacy?
Merci. Merci de m'avoir invité à participer à cet atelier. Alors, Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to take part in this workshop. What we want really is to share with a very broad public knowledge regarding the ocean. A lot is at stake today in the face of climate change and in the face of the erosion of biodiversity. And Oceanopolis has a number of missions, one of which is to share and disseminate its knowledge. That is one of its main activity, and it has been for the past 30 years. We've welcomed some 12 million visitors, close to 1 million school children. So our target audience is quite diversified. It could be anyone in the families, but including all generations. In Brest, we also have 70.8. It's within this building at Capucin, but the door is closed today because of the summit. But we also wish to assist marine innovation, so we can have a really holistic view of the ocean beyond biodiversity. There are threats, but of course the ocean is a source for solutions. So 70.8 is the National Center for Scientific Culture, which is devoted to the ocean. This is really a major point. If you really wish to disseminate knowledge, you have to cooperate with all scientific and technical institutions or agencies. We are fortunate in Brittany to have many stakeholders, many actors, and anything that is produced is really co-constructed with the stakeholders, with the partners. This is the very heart of our knowledge. And that is the very history of Oceanopolis, because our museum was born right from the fact that we have such an abundant scientific community on the territory. Same applies to 70.8, because private companies and associations took integral part in the setting up of this scientific center. Now, on a larger scale, at a global scale, all museums appropriate that type of knowledge to share it with the public, because they have the skills, they have the know-how, they have the knowledge to raise interest, curiosity, to raise questions on the ocean and on this, what is at stake, so that all kinds of audiences can really get involved and interested in the life of oceans. And some of them actually end up getting involved personally in the safeguard of oceans. So all the stakeholders, all the players try to gather as much support as possible for the sustainability of oceans. So we have a very dynamic culture. We need the culture to be constantly updated, to be not to lag behind the state of knowledge. We also must be in keeping with global cultures. There are many cultures on our planet, which means that we need to share with many cultures. Today, we need time to share, like today, and I will tell you what's happening. So here we have the One Ocean Summit. Everybody's gathered here, experts, scientists, decision makers. But for the public, it remains extremely mysterious. People do not know what is happening. So one of our missions at Oceanopolis was really like to create. We opened a little pavilion called the One Ocean Summit Pavilion for the public, so that people would understand what is being discussed at the summit, and to make sure that these topics are shared with many people, so that people can also ask questions in turn. So we call upon a number of experts who are at the summit, but they came to the museum to exchange with the public in our One Ocean Summit Pavilion. So that type of dissemination of sharing is really crucial. It can go from the local scale to the global scale. We want to go further. We want to expand beyond our frontiers. So anything that happened in our museum was disseminated and broadcast at the global scale, was also translated so it would be available for many people. So I think it's really essential to take that global dimension into account. So we've been talking about a lot about sharing knowledge. We know that it's transdisciplinary. We are focusing today in this particular workshop on education, but we could have taken up all the topics from all the workshops. And I think the sharing of knowledge must be really transdisciplinary and must be voiced by all the players. So today, all the actors, all the players in the community the scientific community are building sustainable relationships between the ocean, science, and society.
Thank you for these inspiring words. So I want to remind the speakers that if we want to have that exchange you're calling for, please keep your intervention short so we can all have, hopefully, an exchange. So our third panelist is Kerstin Forsberg, founder and director of Planeta Oceano, an organization powering coastal communities in marine conservation in Peru. So Kerstin, in the light of your amazingly wide-ranging experience, how do you think formal and informal marine education complement each other?
Thank you so much. And first and foremost, it's a pleasure to be with all of you today. I would really like to touch on that specific issue that you're mentioning in terms of the comprehensive nature of ocean literacy and the opportunities that this can provide us all, right? And to do that, I'd really like to look a bit back on some of our experiences in Planeta Oceano. Planeta Oceano is a nonprofit based in Peru, and we're focused on engaging people in marine conservation. I just want to give you a few examples of our work and how this has tied into ocean literacy. My work really started in 2007. I was an undergraduate finishing my studies in biology. I was 22 years old at that time. And I began a small-scale, community-based sea turtle project to research strandings and mortalities of sea turtles. So the first thing that we did was reach out to local volunteers. And in 1 month, we had over 100 local youth that were patrolling the beaches, finding sea turtles, reporting sea turtle strandings and mortality. We had fishermen that were reporting sea turtles that were being caught out in the nets and that they were releasing them. And what this really showcased was citizen science as a tool and an important platform to really bring communities together and to inspire this ownership and this action in something that was previously disregarded, such as sea turtle conservation, and co-create together with local communities. So indeed, at that specific time, we were not framing this project as ocean literacy as such, but it had ocean literacy because it was developing this ownership and engagement and empowerment. And since that, we've been working on different projects, for example, in the term of our flagship project on manta ray, giant manta ray conservation. And manta rays, for example, are endangered species. They're threatened worldwide, and in Peru, they were being hunted. So what we did was work together with local fishermen to really understand this manta ray occurrence, and also work with them to, for example, develop alternative livelihoods, such as community-based ecotourism, to value economically the manta rays alive rather than harvested. So these are just some examples of community initiatives that somehow bring people together in different ways to focus on a specific ocean challenge, and based on that, develop ocean solutions and ocean literacy. Now, I was mentioning a bit about my sea turtle project, and while doing so and finding the sea turtle mortality, this huge question arose in terms of how much are schools talking about the ocean. And I guess that many of us today in this room can acknowledge that growing up, we haven't had enough ocean literacy within our formal education as well. And it was the same case in this particular moment in which I reached out to schools, and many of these were schools that were on the beach themselves, that probably their kids were future fishermen. And they actually acknowledged that they had little topics about the ocean, or they weren't discussing the ocean within their classrooms. So that's how we set out to develop a network. It's called the Marine Educators Network of Northern Peru, to bring teachers together and really identify teachers as leaders and working with them to institutionalize ocean literacy and incorporate it within their classrooms. By doing that, it's not just developing a multiplier effect and connecting schools, but we've also been working, for example, to develop youth incubators in which youth learn how to assess a problem in their community and develop their own community-based project to contribute to ocean sustainability. Right now, we're in a next phase in which we're bringing together, and I was really excited to hear about, for example, the twinning projects that are being conducted in France. And what we're doing really is bringing together schools from different areas to really have kids talk about their own ocean ecosystems, their own ocean threats, but also their own solutions, and understand how we all have a shared ocean. So kind of having these two arenas in terms of formal education and non-formal education, there's really this power to connect. So we've been, for example, bringing in fishermen that have been working in the manta ray project to schools to talk about their experiences. Or based on our scientific study, we've been developing materials that can be incorporated in classrooms so that kids within the classrooms can learn to be scientists and kind of simulate what we're seeing out at field. So just kind of concluding, I know that we have limited time. It's looking back and noticing that indeed our ocean literacy is lacking really worldwide, but we're at this critical moment in which we can really scale it up. And we need to embed ocean literacy everywhere, in every single sector, in every single community. We need to embed it in different ways, and it's possible to embed ocean literacy in very unique ways and according to local context, because ultimately ocean literacy is going to be a critical tool for us moving forward in ocean sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kerstin, for sharing that Pacific Ocean energy we could feel in your actions. So now I would like to invite two actors to present very briefly some initiatives. I'd like to invite Philippe Vallette, who was the former director of the Boulogne-sur-Mer Aquarium and is chair of the International Aquarium Network, to briefly share some of your exciting initiatives.
Thank you very much. Redonner le pouvoir qui est le sien à la société civile.
We need to empower civil society to better manage our oceans. The main challenge is to convince the general public that the ocean is of benefit to them every day, and to convince the public that it's up to them to preserve this essential common good. Because there is only one ocean, because the ocean is planetary, we had to find a way to raise the awareness of the public at global scale. Here it is on the screen. There is only one global ocean, and it revolves around the Arctic and Antarctic. Each of our facilities heads up its own network, and that's why NAUSICAA, the aquarium in Boulogne-sur-Mer, was created in 2002 with the help of many partners, the World Ocean Network, made up of aquariums, science centers, education centers, NGOs, and other partners, to be able to extend the benefits of our efforts to a network of existing networks. We embarked upon some very specific initiatives. One of our main successes has been to manage to bring World Ocean Day, originally created by Canada in 1992, to life at world scale. Here in Boulogne-sur-Mer, France, there is a demonstration for the ocean. And this is another event in India. And World Ocean Day became a reality in 2008. We also created the Ocean Citizen Passport. It's published in 20 languages. And 10 years ago, we created Mr. Goodfish, our sustainable seafood consumption label. More recently, we have set up educational maritime zones. More recently, the DG Mariya European Commission has launched a very important project, EU for Ocean, in order that the oceans and subjects pertaining to the oceans can become everyone's concern, particularly for young European citizens. Aquariums with more than 600 million visitors yearly attract almost 1/10 of the world population that passes through their doors every year. They've also organized themselves and created their own worldwide association. And I head up the management board of this association, and we are the broadest network of education and awareness raising regarding the oceans. As Chairman, I can safely say that we will increase our commitment to saving the ocean. Already part of the UN Decade on Ocean Science, we'll take all our responsibilities in order that the decisions taken at this summit and the upcoming summits can become a reality. Sensitization of the public has never progressed so fast. But a race is on. Deterioration versus action. Let's win this world battle. Let's save our ocean for the benefit of each and every one of us. Thank you very kindly. Thank you very much for those inspiring words. The wonder of aquariums that I hope more and more children can experience. Maud Fontenoy, you have been developing a number of extraordinary projects. Will you share some of them with us, please? Good afternoon. I will be as brief as I can be, because time is very short here this afternoon. We're extraordinarily proud to have been invited here this afternoon. We've come a long way, and this entire summit is a world premiere, and we hope there will be more. I am the ambassador for the Ministry of the National Education regarding ocean literacy. As the minister told you, I'm also a skipper. I have sailed the 7 seas. I have rowed the 7 seas. I have first-hand knowledge of sailing the seas and rowing the seas. When you enter into Arctic waters, you immediately understand that something must be done. And when you talk to scientists and research scientists, you know that the ocean has got to be saved because it's going to save us. This becomes crystal clear. So we've drawn up this educational program. It's described in this book. We have got programs for every school level, from primary school to high school, and we are disseminating this with the help of our European partners. And the purpose is to raise awareness about the beauty of the ocean and the peril that the ocean faces. We need to ensure that children understand the ocean better. Thank you very kindly.
Merci beaucoup, Maud.
Thank you very much, Maud.
Right, as we saw already, and we're going to continue seeing, there's a community spread all around the world which is tirelessly working to promote ocean literacy. We had an amazing few examples here. There have been some milestones in the long history. For example, it starts in the US. We heard about it in 2004. The Galway Statement between the EU, the US, and Canada, identifying ocean literacy as a priority. The launch of an EU coalition for ocean literacy, we just heard about it, and the first ocean literacy law signed in Santos. We are very fortunate, and this was said before, that the International Oceanographic Commission for UNESCO, the IOC, is providing its convening power, greatly strengthened by the Ocean Decade, to facilitate discussions, the interactions among those different actors, and to provide a framework for them to thrive. And we are very happy today to share this video they did for us.
I want to be a fisherman, and I want to eat fresh fish all the time. When I grow up, I want to be an oceanographer to study where the waves come from. I will be a sailor to travel the world. Quand je serai grand, je voudrais être biologiste marin pour protéger les tortues ou de créatures marines.
Sustaining and preserving the ocean will depend on the next generation of ocean professionals. They are the future of our planet ocean. But how can we make these kids' dreams come true? Are we really aware of how our day-to-day actions affect the ocean? It's 2004. In the United States, a group of ocean scientists and education professionals start to work to develop a framework to encourage the inclusion of ocean sciences into national and state standards, and for more teaching about the ocean in classrooms at all levels. This is how the ocean literacy movement was born. Since then, it has spread quickly through the development of marine science educators associations in Canada, Australia, Pacific regions, Europe, and Asia. These associations are consistently promoting, through collaborative and bottom-up processes, the inclusion of ocean literacy in formal and informal education. Scientists, educators, teachers, artists, journalists, governments, and the private sector have risen to the occasion and given life to a global network that converts ocean knowledge into action. Regions, countries, and cities are stepping up to experiment new ways of bringing ocean literacy into every citizen's life. Combining its global expertise in ocean science, culture, and education, UNESCO has led ocean literacy efforts around the world. Presented in 2017 at the first UN Ocean Conference, the UNESCO's Ocean Literacy for All initiative paved the way for the launch of the Global Ocean Literacy Portal, the publication of a toolkit for schools tested in 36 countries around the world, and the organization of an international ocean literacy conference held in the UNESCO office in Venice. This International Ocean Literacy Conference was a true milestone for the ocean literacy community, which started calling on governments to join the movement. Ocean literacy ambitions continue to grow, and the Ocean Literacy with All initiative is now underway to meet one of the major challenges of the UN Ocean Decade: reshape humanity's relationship with the ocean. Ocean Literacy with All wants to advance ocean literacy through international partnerships and networks, implementing transformative local and global activities and projects by and for diverse stakeholders. From grassroots initiatives to international, regional, and national initiatives, the Ocean Literacy moment has arrived. The Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO has launched a proposal for a new blue curriculum, addressing learners' core knowledge related to marine science, and also providing the tools needed to turn the next generation into ocean stewards. A true Generation Ocean.
Quand je serai grande, je voudrais être enseignante pour amener de l'océan dans ma classe.
So I'd like to specifically thank Francesca Santoro from the IOC for this amazing work preparing this for us, which I hope took us a bit outside this room in the ocean in front of children. Now is the time to start a second roundtable, which will explore the challenges and look to the future of these exciting initiatives we're seeing. Our first panelist is Francesca Thyssen-Bornemisza. Yes, it's you. Well-known philanthropist and patron of the arts and the founder of the TBA 21 Academy. The Ocean Uni you have recently developed is driven by a belief in the power of art to serve as an agent of change. Can you tell us more about this exciting project and how it's contributing to ocean education? Please.
So this year, I have some slides also that I wanted to share with you that are just going to roll while I'm talking, because I come from a contemporary art organization and we're very visual people. But this year we're celebrating 20 years of our engagement in the field of contemporary art. And all the activity at the Foundation is driven by artists in the fundamental belief that art and culture are all carriers of social and environmental transformation and change. So keeping that in mind, historically, artists have also been at the forefront of many revolutions. They have a unique capacity to bring diverse people and disciplines together with an exceptional convening power, and their ability to transverse different practices and knowledge systems has given the capacity to create a truly innovative, multidisciplinary and holistic learning approach. So 10 years ago, we founded with Marcus Raymond the TBA 21 Academy Research Center, a cultural ecosystem fostering a deeper relationship to the ocean through the lens of art to inspire care and action. Our work at the Academy is steeped in the question of social and environmental justice. In all our work, the approach that we are consciously taking is one of critical ocean literacy. We live in a time where rightfully we talk more and more about ocean conservation and ocean protection. But at the same time, we need to be aware of the role that the ocean played in the past during times of colonization, and therefore we must talk about conservation. We need to also make sure that we don't repeat all the mistakes of the past. And so the way we've developed our critical ocean literacy program is through a long-term artistic research commissions that are artist-led and always transdisciplinary. And we bring together artists with scientists, conservationists, legal experts, indigenous voices, policymakers, and activists to address all the urgent questions concerning the ocean. And this metabolism of long-term commissions led by artists produce these rich research strands is further elaborated through an early career fellowship program. And it's led by a transdisciplinary group of fellows and mentors, and then disseminated through a freely available online educational program called Ocean Uni. It's an intergenerational learning format combined with a peer-to-peer community platform, which currently has 500 enrolled participants, but of course we're very ready to scale this up. This entire process is disseminated through the Ocean Archive, which is a user-based platform on open source code. The aim of this archive is to break down the boundaries between disciplines, media, and format, and is a repository for all things ocean, something we didn't find on the internet ourselves. It does not discriminate or create a hierarchy between a research paper or an artwork, navigational chant, or a story from a fisherman. Lastly, this is further translated into an educational program for 8 to 18-year-olds. That is the activated in the workshops at Ocean Space in Venice, our space for exhibitions and public programs. This cycle is our unique process to build an educational curriculum of all ages to bring critical ocean literacy to a wide audience. And the best example of this metabolism work, how this metabolism works, is Oceans in Transformation, a long-term commission with territorial agency which is produced in 2020, a strand of which was exhibited out in the central hall of the forum, I'm sure you've walked past it several times in the last few days. Last year, it received the START's Grand Prize of the European Commission for Artistic Exploration, which is science, technology, and the arts. We hope you take a moment to go and visit it. It was really quite shocking to all of us when the artists visualized all of the data that they had collected over this 3-year research period of the numerous exploitative and extractive industries that already plunder our ocean, with more to come, as well as a correlation of worldwide sea level rise data and the massive impact that that will have on coastal communities worldwide. The ocean, as you will see, is already a very crowded space. So in order to unfold the exhibition itself and share it properly with our audience, we established our Ocean Fellowship program that led to Ocean Uni. And there's a commitment on our side to give things time and to go into depth on important issues and to enter the ocean world from a dedicated art organization's perspective. This has given us an opportunity to see the gaps in the system and to try and address them. And we've been committed to developing this method over the last 10 years. And today we feel confident to present it to you at this panel and are very, very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for these quite amazing images that you shared with us and your role in the arts. Thank you. Our next panelist is Robert Calcagno, CEO of the Oceanographic Institute at Prince Albert I of Monaco Foundation and head of the Oceanographic Museum of Monaco and the Maison de l'Océan in Paris. So these famous institutions have been leaders in ocean education for decades, and you are now exploring new opportunities offered by the digital technologies and practices for ocean awareness. Can you tell us more?
Merci, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Yes, we participate in the movements and that were described by Philippe and Francesca and everyone else here. What we're trying to do now is to reinforce, to scale up our capacity to train and make our actions more measurable, and to measure our impact. We have created a holistic program called Ocean New Generation, but because we have so little time, I think I'll just give you one example of this program. We're not a small organization. The Oceanographic Museum of Monaco has participated, has welcomed over 100 million visitors, including 30 million young people. But now we think to be very systematic because education ocean literacy has to be undertaken regularly. The professors have to be leaders in this literacy, and it's very important for us to be able to count on the support of these teachers. We've been working for the past 100 years with the professors in France and Italy, in a basin which includes about 1 million inhabitants, and we have about 10,000 interventions per year. Of course, like everyone else, we've been affected by the pandemic, and we've had very few visits at the museum, and so we learned to go to the classrooms by using digital technologies and Zoom, and using the wonderful programs that you design. And UNESCO has told us that the ocean literacy kits are used for teaching. So with our specialists who know the programs that you develop, we support, we help the teachers through workshops. We help them to educate the young people. And we've developed 7 different workshops: biodiversity, climate change, pollution, etc. And they're very successful. We have been working on scaling up to reach 10 times more children and to systemize and to measure our impacts. We're assisted by the Rothschild Foundation, among others, and I hope that this will develop further in the next few years. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup, Robert, et cette attention.
Thank you very much. This attention that you pay to the teachers is really at the heart of the climate education.
Notre troisième intervenant.
Our third guest is Sami El Iklil, who is in charge of the Foundation Mohammed VI for the Protection of the Environment in Morocco. I think that Sami is connected. I hope he's connected. Yes, he's. Dear Sami, can you tell us how the Mohammed VI Foundation has tackled education on ocean literacy, what resources you use, and what partnerships you have, for example, eco-schools and international partnerships? Good morning, and could you please tell us, thank you very much to the French government and to the UNESCO organization for having invited us. The foundation started in 1999 with a clean beach operation, which in 2001 led to the creation of our foundation by His Majesty King Mohammed VI. And the protection of the ocean and ocean literacy is not something that started, that is the base of this foundation, but it's something that it contributes. We have been working on this subject since 1999. And of course, the main program is the Clean Beach program, which is done in a partnership program which includes private sector, nonprofits, and of course universities and schools. This program is based on synergy with the Eco School program that Eric mentioned. This is a program in partnership with the Foundation for the Environmental Education in Denmark, and which has a branch in Morocco. We have 2,500 schools in Morocco working with this program, and there are various themes that are studied. Because we're talking about ocean literacy, our foundation has set up various tools over the years, tools that are meant to be used for economic partners who participate, or municipalities, or institutional parties, as well as nonprofits and students and schools. All of these tools are shared and adapted using a certain language which enables them to become more aware and to learn. Our program has also been includes an initiative for which awards programs to protect the coastlines. Will be the 4th year of that. We've had over 300 initiatives and projects presented in the last 3 editions, and we have also, with the launch of the Ocean Decade, We have expanded this program, and I'd like to congratulate the organizers of that Ocean Decade as well. We at the Foundation have participated in all of the processes, including defining the roadmap and organizing the various seminars. So the Foundation works on implementing these programs and the strategy on protecting shorelands, and includes, of course, the study of resources which are used, which include manuals and tools that are included and adopted to the various players, and these tools cover coastline protection, but will be extended to others. Stefania Giannini reminded us of the importance of ocean literacy. This is something that the Foundation is working on. This is an informal project because it's not an institutional project, but we do have a partnership with the National Ministry of Education, and we are planning to do a study to see how this integration could be carried out for the best results. The Minister of Education also talked about raising awareness outside of schools, and I'd like to share one initiative that we carried out in 2021. This project was called Ocean Interface. It was carried out in collaboration with the Ministry of Education in Morocco and an association of divers to work on various subjects in the Moroccan kingdom in such a way as to give the children experiences with diving to recover plastic from the ocean. So now I'd just like to also tell you that our foundation will be participating, or rather is going to be organizing the Foundation Dialogue in June. The first edition took place in Copenhagen, and the second edition will happen at the Hassan II Conference Center in Morocco. The idea is to bring together programs and share programs among the participants. So through these initiatives, our foundation, with the partnerships, we have created an integrating role nationally and internationally by sharing our solutions, our tools, and our views for the challenges. Through the Ocean Decade program, we do this both locally and nationally and internationally, and we work on developing synergies and defining priorities for the future and raising awareness so that all the communities adopt our program. Thank you very much. Thank you for having shared all of these very exciting initiatives. Now, we will be hearing from Cécile Gaspar, who is a founding member of the World Ocean Network and is also the founder of the Temana Ote Moana NGO, the Spirit of the Ocean, from French Polynesian. Cécile, you contributed to launching the educative marine area concept in French Polynesia. There are now over 600 in France. I think the minister said there were 70 of them in Brittany. And your foundation also promotes citizen science. Can you tell us how this work with young people and adults can lead to changes in behavior?
Bonjour à tous, merci beaucoup. C'est vraiment un privilège et un honneur d'être ici. Je remercie le gouvernement français pour l'invitation. Donc c'est vrai qu'étant basé en Polynésie française, en plein milieu du Pacifique, dans un environnement de plus de 5 millions de kilomètres carrés, on se sent forcément dédié à faire des actions pour l'océan. Donc en 2004, nous avons créé cette association, Te Mana o Te Moana, ce qui veut dire l'esprit de l'océan. Notamment motivé par des actions de mes collègues qui sont ici, comme Philippe Vallette, puisque je les ai fait partie.
Philippe Vallette, or the pedagogical people in here. So in our own levels, we try to implement a number of actions. So I've started, but a request of the Polynesian management to work on education and conservation and research. That's how it started. So based on a positive approach, we decided we should benefit to the public, pupils, and the tourists as well, to show that we must work in a network with small associations, but we've got a major network with associations which support us, and we were able to develop all this. This is the other. We've got partnerships with the Oceanographic Foundation, the Office Français de la Biodiversité, so we decided to work on education to the environment in the schools and the public at large. The center allows us to have it visited by schools and children, to have the more than 120,000 students, which is a lot for Polynesia. So the sea animals, so they're more made more aware to it. And based on the program on islands, we've developed a program for the teachers as well in Marquesas. And we've got more than 620 schools in France on the French territory, and we want to continue with this. And we've also developed the participative science, citizen science network, and also teaching tourists what to look at, to have a very productive alert system so we can implement immediate actions. So I wanted to be a bit quick. I wanted to show you pictures. Of course, when you can see to the public at large and children, practical actions, immediately people are more aware. They understand, they say, what can we do? We all have a little free time. And lots of people want to work voluntarily. And lots of elderly want also to help us. And this is very important. And to mention a few initiatives of citizen science and knowledge sharing, we have the Baroness, which is to the bottom right of the screen, which is a structure that was developed by Jacques Rougerie, which is one of our partners, which were inaugurated by President Macron in last June, which is very important. Nature and culture are very well put together and meet, and it has to be open to the public at large to give the floor to let speak the various levels of science which are implemented in these countries.
Merci beaucoup de ces
Thank you very much for these very good initiatives.
We have now some question time, and actually we have questions from a few students in the room. I think they like to ask. So please, very quickly, because we are very late, but we need the voice of the youth as well. Please. You have a microphone?
Thank you very much. Thank you for all the discussions and for everything that has been shared in this workshop. My name is Céline Giannini. I am a doctor in marine ecology and currently a graduate assistant in Toulon University in research and teaching and in the Mediterranean Institute of Oceanography. And I am also an All-Atlantic Ocean Youth Ambassador in the All-Atlantic Ocean Research Alliance. And I am part of the One Ocean Summit University. And with young researchers, we established a call for actions And concerning education, we are convinced that educational structures are essential to promote ocean literacy and to raise the awareness of the global threats. And we also think that familiarity is fundamental to make people feel concerned by the necessity of preserving the ocean. Also for people that live far from the coastline. So our question would be, do you think it could be feasible to implement an educational, environmental thematic in school educational program, including a part specifically dedicated to the ocean for each level in schooling and in all schools in the near future?
That's a really good question. Who would like to have a go answering that? Our minister is gone. We could ask him, but yes, please, Robert.
Je n'ai pas pu vous présenter toute la...
I was not able to explain the holistic approach of the One Ocean generation. We want to go from nursery school to university and including postdocs. So we've developed activities with the Ministry of Education in France and also in Italy. At all levels, there is another type of program which is oceanic carriers, especially for people in high school looking for what they want to do in the future. Some of you probably know the Forum of Sea Jobs. Maybe you went through this, but there is a limitation. We can have 600 people only. With digitalization, we can work in remote, and we've got the oceanic carriers. This is a theme for a club of young professionals, where we invite young people with PhDs, future leaders, young leaders to develop things. You are aware, and this is something that we all do, and we're doing things all over the time. It must be more systematic, and we've got to measure things to obtain results. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have to continue. We're very late, and there's another workshop coming after us. Before we conclude with our two last speakers, I wanted to share with you another very short video that the team of IOC has made for us. And this is the Generation Ocean video that is the first public outing of this campaign. So if we can share that video, very short video, another inspirational video before we invite Pierre-Léna.
Today, I'm taking action. Today, I'm making new choices, as I should.
Because our planet is a blue planet.
And I'm changing the ocean for good.
I used to say, there's nothing wrong.
I used to say, let's just have fun.
I can't change the ocean by myself. I didn't think change could be done.
So I stood by, watched sea levels rise.
Sat back as corals were bleached.
I didn't think I was part of the problem.
I didn't know a solution could be reached.
But I've learned
that small actions matter.
And science tells us it's time.
I now know what we have to do.
To restore the ocean that's yours and mine.
So what's stopping you from taking action? Let's all just have a think.
What can you do to make a difference?
I bring the ocean back from the brink.
We know every day matters.
So let's put action into motion.
We're the ones to do this.
We are
Generation Ocean.
Gen Ocean, for the ocean we need.
Thank you very much. So I would like now to, we're near the end of the workshop, I'd like to invite Pierre-Léna to join and share his perspective on our discussion on ocean literacy and education. So Pierre-Léna is a member of the French Academy of Science, internationally respected figure in science education, founder of La Main à la Pâte in France, and more recently of the Office for Climate Education. Pierre, the floor is yours.
Well, I will try to be quick to summarize with difficulty an extremely rich meeting and presentations. Ocean literacy, of course, we have the present, we heard about it, but we have the future, and this is more important now. A rich set of initiatives exist, and we have the opportunity with this summit to scale up the effort. Of course, the frame of the effort is given in the UN Ocean Decade, which recognizes ocean literacy as a fundamental step to change human interaction with the ocean. It provides a global framework to replicate success and to multiply impact. Literacy can progress on 2 feet, in 2 ways, and we heard of both, the formal and the informal education. It has to target the easy audience, I would say, the children, the youth, but also the new audience, including policymakers, industry, and governments. Just as the ocean cannot be dissociated from biodiversity and climate change issues, ocean literacy should be seen as a fundamental component of education for sustainable development. And we have heard many speeches today showing that. UNESCO is, of course, active on all these fronts with remarkable achievements, and we have also heard of many initiatives in this workshop. I think we should notice that in almost all of them, the role of scientific community has been put forward. And this is very important. But here we have the reservoir of dedication, the reservoir of scientific knowledge, and the reservoir of a clear view of the future. So, formal education. There, the role of states and ministries in ocean literacy is essential. And our French minister, the minister from Madagascar, both have shown the role they can and will play on this. They can adapt curricula, of course, blue, make them more blue, the issue of greening the curricula, now we have bluing the curricula coming, and providing, and this is absolutely essential, teacher training, teacher preparation. The UN conference, the UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon next June, will offer a unique opportunity for formal and informal dialogue on ocean literacy, and we call on both. Such dialogue has the potential to result in guidance of states, in new collaborations between states, between ministries of education, and initiatives for all partners, including, of course, governments. This is the formal education, top-down in a sense, from government, states, ministries, to the teachers. But also, we have to amplify the bottom-up contribution of various stakeholders. NGOs, of course, actors in least developed countries or in less developed countries, small island, developing states, holders of indigenous and local knowledge. This is all critical to complement and to give roots to the top-down initiatives. This process can help to conceive and disseminate scientifically validated resources for the classroom to the teachers. We have had interesting examples of this type of action. We have seen in Morocco the diving people being connected to teachers. We have heard that in Monaco, teachers are gathered all around the marvelous Oceanographic Museum to benefit from all the knowledge which is stored. We have heard in Polynesia the meeting of the students around this turtle program. We have heard from Peru a connection between fishermen and teachers, and in all cases, those connections are immediately impacting their students. The IOC Ocean Literacy Portal is, for the future, as it is now, a tool and a source of the needed systemic vision, because of course, ocean is a system by itself, it's a subsystem of the Earth, but it's a system which requires all the scientific disciplines and also the social science to converge in education. Now, how to get those two ways, bottom-up and top-down, to converge? IOC at UNESCO has established already an international working group on ocean literacy. It will work to connect those initiatives in the coming months and years. It will gather the experience and projects from as many stakeholders as possible at grassroots levels, including scientists, in order to develop a network of actors and teachers. It will organize on this basis, and I think this is an announcement that I can make to you, an international conference fully dedicated to ocean literacy to develop further plan of action. This group, the IOC, will as well elaborate a set for guiding principles to be used by governments as well as by teachers. I can give an example of such a procedure for climate education. After the COP21 in Paris, we had a declaration from all the science academies of the world about climate education. This was followed by a set of recommendations which led in France to the creation of the Office for Climate Education, which is now active in France, in Europe, in Latin America, and will soon be more in Africa and Southeast Asia. This is the type of initiative which creates a network of actors at the grassroots levels, teachers, advisors for education, and scientists to implement further what we want, ocean education. So it's a pleasure to call all of you, and beyond the support, and beyond, to support these efforts and become active and engaged actors in creating an ocean literate society that spans across all geographies and generations, including, of course, the youth who have spoken a minute ago. Our ocean needs and indeed deserves nothing less to preserve its beauty and its contribution to life on this planet. Thank you. And thank you to all the speakers and to Eric for having organized this.
Thank you, Pierre, for these inspirational words. We're very late, but I want really to invite the Amiral Pierre Vandier, chef d'état-major de la Marine, pour nous présenter quelques mots de conclusion.
Il me revient le mot de la fin, j'ai 2 minutes, donc je vais essayer de tenir le...
Well, the last word is for me. I have 2 minutes. I'll try to stick to it, which is a bit difficult in the face of the diversity of the various initiatives that were presented to us and vis-à-vis the very high level of engagement in the field of ocean literacy education. Why should a man from the military say the last words? Well, sea people make up a whole family, whether they're fishermen, academics, sailors, yachters, artists, writers, photographers, navigators, sailors like athletes like Fontenoy, and the military as well. Traveling the 7 seas, we all have common features. We all noted the damage to ocean, over exploitation of resources, and so on. But all of us are absolutely marveling at the beauty of nature. And the fact that I speak before you as an army man is quite telling of the fact that the situation is everybody's business and our business. As Minister Blanquer said, it is absolutely necessary to educate people in this respect. The French Navy and National Education have very interesting partnership initiatives. Many of these initiatives are quite promising, and thanks to these initiatives, very young children can be made aware of the ocean and what it represents. A number of junior high and high schools have entered that program. There are a number also of participative science projects. You can go to the commercial harbor with La Garonne, which can be visited, and there's also a program on plankton, for instance. Now, to conclude, we can see that youth has a potential for involvement that is absolutely huge. In the French Navy, we have 1,400 new young people joining us every year, more than 4,000, which means the average age in the French Navy is below 30. And I can tell you that most of the youngsters who want to join the French Navy wish to do so because they love the ocean, are interested in what it represents. So thank you for listening to me, and I wish you a very fruitful continuation.
Thank you very much, Monsieur l'Amiral. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our workshop today. Thank you for your patience, and let's continue ocean literacy in many other places. Thank you.